5 of the schedule 161, and the Renault team doing it well. They could, however, have been doing it much, much better, because they are now down to just one car. With me is Alan Jones. He's got the flu, he's slammed into the cutting, and he's not a happy camper.
Apart from that, it's been a good day.
Look, we saw it happen, and it was hard to tell. We didn't know what happened. Just take us through it, and we'll have a look at a replay in as slow as possible, slow-mo that we can, to see what we can pick up.
Well, you go into the cutting, and you can see it's quite a sharp left-hander there. And you've really got to get on the power nice and early, because you're coming up the hill. And I arrived, it's a blind corner, you actually can't see around the corner, obviously, and you see the car just go straight ahead. Look, I mean, there's just... As I got into the apex of the curve, you can see the oil.
Yep.
As I got into the apex, now the Volvo's sliding on it as well. Admittedly, he's got his foot on the brake to avoid me, but you could actually see the back of the Volvo coming around. It was sliding on the oil as well. So there was oil right on the apex, and as soon as I got on the power, being front-wheel drive, it just totally lost traction and just understeered straight into the wall.
And that was the oil that came from that car directly in front of you?
I'm not sure whether it was that car in front of me or not, but there was a great slick of oil from that apex right up almost into the next right-hander.
Did you speak to the officials about it?
Had a word, yeah.
Are we allowed to ask what that word was?
No, I just said, listen, you know, correct me if I'm wrong, but is there oil there, you know? And then I got another guy just to verify, just in case.
Can I just say something? I bet you didn't say it like that.
Oh, not quite.
No.
But he actually said to me, I'm too busy looking where you were coming from, not where you were going. But unfortunately, the oil was where I was going.
And the unfortunate thing is the lead of the team has been whittled away as well.
Yeah, not only have I shunted the car, but I've lost 40-second lead for them.
Disappointed, though, for you, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's terribly disappointing, because the car was running absolutely fantastic. I mean...
Graham done a good job.
He did a great job, yeah. I mean, gearbox, engine, brakes are all just absolutely perfect, and we were looking good.
No other excuses, but how much harder is it to drive at this level and under this pressure with a rotten dose of the flu?
Well, I'd for sure sooner not have it. I mean, it gets quite hot in the car anyway, because these cars, you can't wind the windows down or anything like that, so it gets quite hot in there. But, yeah, I mean, I'd rather not have it for sure. It's a bit of a bugger.
What now for Alan Jones?
Oh, I'll go home and regroup and come back in a couple of weeks and have another go.
All right, Alan, thanks for being with us. Bit of disappointment, but we hope the other car can do the right thing by you.
I'm sure they can. They're a fantastic team. Alain and Jason are the two best drivers, so if anyone can do it, they can.
Leading at the moment on lap 55 as we go back to Gary and Murray.
Well, here is the Volvo, the number 8 Volvo of Jan Nilsson and Cameron McLean. Cameron's been in, Jan Nilsson has taken over. The blue flag is waving there, and it's waving at Nilsson to let the BMW through. The BMW number 2 of Paul Morris, who's in second place, some 17 or 18 seconds behind Alain Menu.
Jan Nilsson, or Flash as he's known, won the 1996 Swedish Touring Car Championship. He won 7 races from 9 starts, which is pretty good. He's currently running second, the last information I had, in the 97 Swedish Championship.
If you see the two Volvos, incidentally, you can tell the Nilsson one from the headlamp covers. If you look at them now, it's got those sort of amber covers on them to differentiate from the Jim Richards car, which...
The Prime Television banner flying over both the Volvos for the telecast here at Mount Panorama this year. Great to see some new sponsors coming into to the big race, the great race, and this car lucky still to be up and running after its close involvement, as we saw in the Alan Jones incident.
I thought he handled it superbly. He saw it at the very last minute, as Alan just said. It is a blind corner. He wouldn't have even known that Alan had gone in, and he got it around very quickly, and really, I think to his credit, has saved the car.
There goes the BMW past the Volvo. Now, the good news for Renault, Alan, is what we just heard from Alan Jones, that it wasn't anything to do with the car which caused him to go off. And he was saying the engine was in great shape, the gearbox was in great shape, the brakes are in great shape, the car was handling beautifully, he hadn't got a worry in the world. And that means to say that Alain Menu should be in the same sort of situation. And right at the back of an awful lot of people's minds here is, will the Renault which is nimble and fast, be as reliable as the sturdy, long-running BMW. So, there's still that little tweaky thought in the back of a lot of people's minds. Not mine, I hasten to say.
Well, I think you're giving the sentiment very correctly, Murray. Yes, they do look frail, and when Richard and I had a look at the Renault team earlier in the week, just with the wheels off, all this, they're mini Formula One cars, and the suspension does look frail, and you do worry a little bit, are they strong enough for this 1,000-kilometer thump?
A reminder for our viewers, the question we asked in our last hour in the Channel 7 Triple M Dash for Cash: what was the problem that Peter Brock encountered on his first pit stop? If you know the answer, you could win $5 grand. Ring 1902 550 666. Car 37 is in the pits with a problem. It's not a driver change at this stage anyway.
Well, and car 37 is the Tony Newman-Dwayne Bewley car, but all of Australia will be wondering what's happening to the Brock car, which lost so much time, as you were saying, at that pit stop. Well, the very good news for them is that in the hands of Derek Warwick at the present moment, it's in 9th position. And not only is it in 9th position, but only one car on the track is currently lapping faster than it is. And that's Aluminium. So Derek Warwick is making up time all the time, but he's got so much time to make up, because this circuit is a long one. It's 3.8 miles long. We're looking now at the Richards car, number 34, which is in the hands of Matthew Neal and in 8th position. Exactly,
8th position, and he's lapping around about 3 seconds a lap slower than Derek Warwick in that 05 car that you were just talking about, Murray.
So 3 seconds a lap slower. They're doing 2 minutes 20 laps, but it's going to take Derek Warwick an awful long time to take a lap out of his lead. That is the problem, of course, here, or anywhere else for that matter. If you lose a whole lap, no matter how quickly you're going, it's going to take an enormous amount of time to get it back.
Sure is. Oh, hello. Car 10. This is the Toyota Camry. It's on pit straight. Come to a complete halt.
Bad spot.
We saw that car in the pits earlier on. I think it had a gearbox problem, and it was rolled to a halt again there, almost opposite its pit bay actually, but on the front straight on the wrong side of the wall.
We don't have a cherry picker to lift it over. They're not allowed to get it around the corner and reverse it into the pit lane, which would be nice geographically, but this is bad news for this team.
Well, nevertheless, and we're on lap 60 now in this 161 lap race. Of the 29 cars who started, 21 are still running. As we join Derek Warwick, I've just been talking about him. He's the second fastest man on the track at the moment, ex-Formula One driver. He's so happy to be behind the wheel. He runs his own very successful business from the Isle of Jersey. He's got a couple of Honda dealerships. He's got an agricultural manufacturing business. He's a very wealthy man, but that doesn't stop him from getting behind the wheel of a car. Indeed, it motivates him to get behind the wheel of a car. And he started the team that he's driving for now, 888, with John Cleland, and they have the most friendly friction of any driver partnership I think I've ever seen.
I had to admire the way two fellows could smile at each other, so genuinely friendly. A credit to them both.
Car 37 we saw in the pits a few moments ago came in 20th position, rejoined in the same place. That's the Peugeot 405 of Tony Newman and Dwayne Bewley. They had one mishap. The left front window of the car has blown out. They must have hit something, I think, but they're not replacing it, so they're having a very breezy day at Mount Panorama.
Watching the Vauxhall Vectra of Derek Warwick, where is his teammate John Cleland, who is in car number 7, which he co-drives with James Kay? Well, the answer is he's way down in 26th position after that very, very long stop he had with a failed steering pump. I don't know whether he's wrestling the car round or whether they've done something about the pump. Alan?
We got something loose under the car, Murray. I was going to say Derek was driving it like a Formula One car. He went over the curb on the approach to Forest Elbow, and he's got one of the ductings to the rear of the diff loose. I don't know how long they'll want to run like that.
Glorious panoramic shot here of Mount Panorama from the Whitman's lightship. Just another dimension to our coverage of the great race. And we've got cameras in the air, in helicopters, on the lightship, on the ground, in the cars, in the track, over the track, under the track, and stuck on the side of cars as well as we rejoin Derek Warwick.
familiar sight, that airship. It was over the Australian Grand Prix at Melbourne. I was talking about John Cleland. He's really struggling. He's 29 laps, 30 laps down now, just keeping going.
Well, to his credit, he is going, but here's one of the tow trucks out going to pick up the Camry of Neil Bates, and hopefully they'll be able to get it back. But in theory, it will have to be the Clerk of Course's discretion whether they allow them to slip it back through the pit exit gate. Wouldn't really expect them to haul it all the way around the circuit at this stage, but it will require the Clerk of Course permission to do it.
Yeah, he's not exactly a grave threat to the leadership, Alan, is he? He's 18 laps behind.
Mark Adderton at the wheel at the moment. So big disappointment for this young driving combination. Sad sight to see.
I've got so much admiration for these chaps. They haven't got big budgets behind them. They haven't got a Renault budget or an Audi budget or a BMW Works budget. Talking of John Cleland, and I just was, here he is coming into the pit lane. I hope for a routine stop. It's lap 32, which is the magic figure that you keep on talking about.
Let's find out from David Tapp.
No, it doesn't seem to be a routine stop. He's driven past the entrance to his pit garage. The bonnet has gone up again, so it looks as though the woes for this team is set to continue today. They spent about 45 minutes in the pits early this morning with a power steering failure, and it could well be the same thing again. And John Cleland, as you can appreciate, is not a happy man.
Meantime, Alan Menu is now on lap 62, increasing his lead. He's putting in some really searing laps. His last lap was 1.5 seconds faster than that of Paul Morris, who is second, 24 seconds behind the Renault Laguna. So I won't exactly say that Menu is playing with the opposition, but he's making fairly light of it at the present moment. There's still the second BMW in third position. That is Alan Menu in the lead. David Brabham is third, still on the same lap, obviously, as Alan Menu. Neil Crompton and Paul Radisic are fourth and fifth. The Peugeot is still looking very good, very strong. They are about 40 seconds behind the leader. Frank Bieler in the Audi Quattro is in sixth position, and his teammate Jean-Francois Ormeroul, the Belgian, is in seventh place. Then we've got that battle between Matthew Neal in the Nissan, Derek Warwick in the Vauxhall Vectra, before we see Rickard Rydell, who's now taken over the top Volvo, 10th place.
Well, here's our leader coming again down over Skyline. But I can't help feeling a bit for Paul Morris. He's got to be feeling tired now. 61 laps around this circuit at this pace. A tremendous credit to him. But he's running a 220, 218 sometimes, but a 220 was his last lap against Menu's 218. He's throwing away 2 seconds a lap. I think BMW management would want to see this car in as soon as possible for a refuel and get Paul out of the car.
I'm a bit mystified by this, Alan, because I would have expected them to let Craig Baird in early, because his difference in qualifying time was only about a second between that and Paul Morris, and who knows, Craig Baird might have been able to go quicker. So this obviously, I hope, is not a reflection on the relative ability of the two drivers.
I don't think so, because Craig Baird's been one of the finds of Australian motorsport this year. 4 times New Zealand Touring Car Champion, and very happy to be driving with BMW at the moment.
Out of the race, seemingly goes the John Cleland car.
Craig Baird ought to be in the car, but they had a mishap on the pit stop, and for some reason, I don't know, just a mix-up in communications, he was not ready to get into the car. That's why Paul Morris has done a double stint.
Oh ho!
He may remind Craig of that tomorrow morning when they're having their run down the beach at Surfers Paradise.
If he's physically able to.
Exactly.
After 65 laps in the car or something like that.
Well, Craig Baird's going to have to make up for it with his performance when he does get behind the wheel.
Well, I'll tell you also, this car came in at 32 laps. The sister car that's driven by the Brabhams came in at 37 laps. So it would seem as though perhaps maybe the car wasn't expected at the time. It seems to have come in a bit earlier than the other car, and I'm sure they would have stretched it as far as they could at that point.
I was thinking there's a chap called Kelvin Burt who drives for the Volvo team in Britain, and almost invariably, if they want him, they have to wake him up because he's always going to sleep. I hope that didn't happen to Craig Burt.
I've got to tell you, Kelvin was like that in Formula 3 as well, apparently, but you know, when they wake him up and they put him in the car, boy, does he go.
That's right.
Cape Canaveral launch pad. You can never tell what your actual miles per gallon usage is. Your fuel economy is only what you get on the day. All your information, all your reading, all your telemetry, all the information that you have available to you over the 4 days preceding this event can give you an indication. But it's only on the day that you know, and as it unfolds, that you get your miles per gallon factor.
The BMWs just look so good on the circuit and so good across the top of the mountain here. It's just that the Renaults at the moment are that little bit quicker.
Yeah, I was wondering when Jason Plato was coming in. I've just seen that he's Alan Menu's due in. I've just seen that he's due in now, because Plato came in round about lap 30.
31, actually.
Incidentally, thank you, Alan. Incidentally, his lap is still the fastest, 2:16.8, and Alan Menu will be coming in with about a 28-second lead. Is that enough to enable him to keep the lead?
Yes, they should. If they have got everybody out of the pit lane that were crowding the publicity hounds that were crowding the lane for Brocky. A good quick stop around 35 seconds would be quite nice at this stage.
I've just checked again with the BMW pit, and they've indicated that they were expecting Paul Morris in at lap 32, and for whatever reasons we cannot ascertain, Craig Baird just was not ready to get into the car.
Well, he'll never do that again, because that report card will go back to Munich, and Germans don't like that kind of punctuality.
Absolutely, and rightly so.
Car 30.
So, where is... well, there's Paul Morris, and Alan Menu must be on another lap, because he's 28 seconds ahead of the BMW, and it's taking him... his last lap was 2:18.5. Incidentally, hats off to the people who are supplying us with all our information here. We've got an electronic readout on a monitor in front of us, which is giving us the most detailed information you could possibly imagine. What lap they're on, what their last lap speed was, what their fastest lap speed was, what the gap is between the cars. It's not that Alan and I are brilliant mathematicians, it's just that we're very good at reading a monitor.
Murray, you're a killjoy.
There is the Renault Laguna leading the Bathurst 1000 on its 64th lap out of 161, with Alan Menu, we believe, coming in at the end of this lap to hand over, I was going to say to his mate, Jason Plato. I don't think they're all that matey, because Alan Menu's implacable decision to push past Jason Plato in a recent British Touring Car Championship race cost Plato second place in the championship.
And as we speculated earlier, Alan, with a lead of 30.27 seconds, they'll be in, they'll change, they'll refuel, and they'll be out again, still in the lead.
Yes, that'll give them a nice impetus. It'll make their life easier. Their management will be able to control things. It makes it hard on the opposition when one particular car maintains the lead. It really does.
I'll tell you what, though, they'll need to, because they stopped on lap 31. If they stop this lap 64, the Audi, we noticed, went for 38, 39 laps. With a pace car, he'll be in probably over 80, I would think, and they'll be looking to do one less stop. Here comes Benyon.
Yeah, I'll get the old stopwatch going.
And we'll keep an eye on the number 2 BMW.
I'll stop the start watch, as I have said in the past, and we'll try to avoid saying again.
Right about
Now he comes to a halt, and when the wheels stop rolling, now.
Pat Welsh.
Gary, yes, it's just been perfection all the way, hasn't it, for this team today? And there'll be a driver change. This is what takes a little extra time, because the new seat has to go in. That's just taking an extra couple of seconds, although they've completed that very, very quickly. Alarm Menu out, Jason Plato in.
Looks like Paul Morris coming out of Murray's corner.
And taking the lead. So they have not managed to get Alan Menu out in the lead. It's 32 seconds since he came in now, and the fuel is still going in. This is much longer than I expected, and in comes the Brabham car from third position. So Morris is in the lead now. Menu should get out in second place. Brabham is in, and he was in third position.
No driver change in the Brabham car. David staying in the car.
52 seconds that was, in comparison with 47 seconds for the previous pit stop.
Rejoining the race in second place, Jason Plato at the wheel of car number 3. So Paul Morris, car 2, BMW, leads the race. Car 3 in second place, Alain Menu at the wheel. Jason Plato, rather, now at the wheel of the Williams Renault.
Now the question is Neil Crompton going to get in and through before the Brabham car goes out? And it rather looks to me as though he is.
The Brabham pit stop, no driver change, remember, 23 seconds.
But there will be a pit stop in that BMW area any moment now, because I can see Craig Baird standing by, ready to jump into the lead car.
Yeah, jumping up and down to get in, I should think, Richard.
Paul has to. They might have to drag him out of this. We'll see how he jumps
65
out.
65 laps. I think
That's
he's done
a tremendous job.
Stunning job. He must be made of iron.
65 laps in over 2.5 hours as well.
Yeah, and his last lap was 2:18 compared with Plato's Venue's last lap of 2:23 when he was coming into the pit. So Paul Morris has not only driven a tremendous distance, but he's maintained his pace.
Well, there wouldn't be too many physically fitter people in the race than Paul Morris, 29 years of age, lives on the Gold Coast, and apart from preparing the cars and his work as a marketing man in direct marketing, he maintains absolute superb fitness.
Well, it's certainly paying off now enormously. And this should be Paul Morris turning into the pit lane.
Can't say for certain.
Made his debut here.
Well, under the bridge. He's going to know he didn't. He's going through again. He's going into his 66th lap.
Well, he's an Iron Man, Paul Morris, who made his debut here at Bathurst in 1991 and won his class, the 1600cc class, in which he drove a Toyota Corolla with Jeffrey Full. Neil Crompton, the Peugeot 406, the SO Ultron entry. And Crompton really enjoying himself, still in 4th place on the track. There's been a bit of toing and throwing up ahead of him with Morris, Plato and Brabham. Here comes 05, Derek Warwick.
Yep, Derek Warwick from 9th position, and he had got back somehow onto... No, he was still nearly a lap adrift, but made up a heck of a lot of time. So Peter Brock will be taking over. There you see the famous figure getting into the driving seat. Derek, as usual, of course, had to take the steering wheel off in order to enable Brocky to get in. And now here comes Neil Crompton. He was in 3rd position when he came in the Peugeot 406.
David Tapp is with the Brock pit.
Yes, thank you, Gary. There has been some suggestion that they were looking at changing a muffler on this car. That does not seem to be the case in the 4-cylinder Vauxhall Vectra, 16-valve engine, 975 kilograms this car. Good driving stint by Derek Warwick. And undoubtedly he'll be seeking some liquid refreshment now that Brock's back in the car. And if we can get a shot later on of the enormity of the crowd standing behind Peter Brock's pit garage, you've got to see it to believe it. And it's been that way here at Mount Panorama for 29 years. They are 10 deep.
Let's check the Peugeot pit stop with Pat Welsh.
Going very well down here. Neil Crompton out, strapping Patrick Watts in. Trouble with the right front. They still haven't got the right front on yet. Bonnet up. Bonnet down. So only
it's a brake.
Temporary problems. Brakes.
Yeah,
yes,
brake problem.
Yes, it is brakes coming off. Well, we expected one brake change today, but as we said earlier in the day, it could have been a case of suck it and see, but the brakes are off.
Alan, while we're watching this, let's think of things from the Vauxhall and from the Peter Brock point of view. It came in 9th position. Now, let's look and have a guess at who might drop out. Ahead of him, there's Matthew Neal in the Nissan. There's the 2 Audis. There are 2 BMWs. And there are 2, just the 1 Renault.
Yes, but this stop is costing them again, Murray. The first one was a disastrous 3.15 seconds, 3 minutes 15 seconds. Now they're under the car again, chasing whatever was loose, a suggestion of a muffler or some other device cooling the rear diff assembly. But here, quite a decent stop for the SO Ultra team.
So
26 out.
Brock is 10th. Bathurst victory is looking a bit thin, is it?
Well, when you're in the pits at lunchtime, it's an ominous time. It's a good time to be out circulating, and they're going to have some time here. This is not unfolding easily. If it was the exhaust system, it'll be a nightmare to get it off.
That is exactly what it is.
Yeah.
The Crompton car, the Peugeot, came in, driver change, Watts back in the car, came in 3rd place, back out in 8th.
And they will be doing that, Alan, for noise reasons rather than performance reasons.
A little bit of both, Murray. I think it probably was taking the edge off the car, but...
There's a car stopped in the cutting. It's car 88. It's the Hills entry again. It's stuck on the hill.
Well, at least they can see it because it's on the entry and not that oil slick on the exit that took Alan Jones out.
No, slightly better position, fortuitously positioned, but this could be another tow truck situation, unless. Well, that was quicker than we thought. Whatever it was.
Terrific stop. I mean, to do what they have done in the time that they've done it is most praiseworthy. But the safety car, if that comes out to recover the Hills car, as we rejoin Paul Morris, who is leading the Bathurst 1000 on lap 67 out of 161. And he is some 37 seconds ahead of Jason Plato.
Let's check the top 10. Morris, Baird lead the race from Menu and Plato in the Renault Laguna. Then the Peugeot 406 of Harvey and Radicic, Brabham in the second BMW running fourth, and Jones and Vila in the Audi Quattro fifth. Sixth position, McConville and Emerald, the second Audi. Richards and Neal, the Nissan Primera, are seventh. The Peugeot, Watts and Crompton in eighth place. Richards and Rydell in the Prime Volvo ninth. And Warwick and Brock just rejoining the race after that pit stop in 10th position. The pace car is out. You saw the reason why. Car 89, I wrongly identified it before as 88. It is car 89, the teammate, the night racing car, that is stuck just on the entrance to the cutting. That's why the pace car is out. Whilst we were away, race leader Paul Morris surrendered that position, came in for the long-awaited driver change to Craig Baird. Let's take a look at it as the pace car leads the field around the track. Here it is.
Yeah, very interesting. You'll see them putting some hydraulic fluid in the car. This pit stop took some 49 seconds, as a result of which the BMW has dropped down the field a bit. And when it rejoined, I noticed that it was smoking. Now, whether that's a bit of overflow of oil from filling up the hydraulic container, which I guess is what it was, or something else, I don't know. But Warwick and Brocky have had some really bad luck, because they rejoined the race, and just as they rejoined, the safety car came out, and that's prevented them, in effect, from making up the lap that they had lost.
Car 2, the BMW, rejoined the race in 6th position. So, race leader now, again, is Jason Plato in car number 3, the Williams Renault Laguna.
The safety car, and you see there is the Warwick-Brock car, or shall I say the Brock-Warwick car, right behind it.
After driving a double stint, I don't know whether he's got breath to talk, but Paul Morris is with Pat Welsh.
Yeah, he's very relaxed, actually. 67 laps you've been out there. You're entitled to be in the caravan resting.
I'm pretty well in good condition. Was drinking all the way, and the car was just running beautifully. Had a flat tyre at about lap 20, which made us pit early, and I just had to stay in till the fuel ran out. And we were blessed right at the end there. We got a yellow flag, so we just changed drivers.
Now, was there a misunderstanding, or did you decide to do 2 stints?
Not really, but the flat tyre really early on I had to pit, so we took on fuel when I had the flat, and I just had to stay in the car till I ran the fuel out.
We saw the bonnet up in that last stop. Any dramas?
No dramas, just topping her up with oil just to make sure she's got enough to do the 1,000 Ks, and everything should be fine. This was something that we've said all week, the reliability of the BMWs, and it's been proven so far today, hasn't it? It is. It's the car's going strong. It's as strong as it was at the start of the race. The times are really consistent, whether it's on light fuel loads or full fuel loads. So as long as we can keep going all day, I think we're in a chance. Well done so far. I'll let you go relax. Thank you. Thanks, Paul.
We are on lap 68. The pace car is out. This is the reason why. Car 89 is going backwards down Mountain Straight. We'll be back with more of the great race, the AMP Bathurst 1000, after this. One of the big local hopes in this internationally flavoured AMP Bathurst 1000, Paul Morris is a fit and hard-charging driver who has made Super Touring racing his battlefield. Currently leading the Australian Super Touring Championship, the Gold Coaster Morris has matured into a fast and reliable title campaigner for BMW in recent seasons. There'll be no surprises if Morris and his Kiwi co-driver Craig Baird are on the rostrum at the end of the day. There is no end to the drama. Car 6. This is the Peugeot Tim Harvey Paul Radicic car. Radicic is at the wheel, and effectively they were in second place in the race. And there's been a mishap. They've hit something.
Just smashed the wheel in, Gary. It's got toe in. It's rubbing against the wheel. He'd be lucky not to blow that tire. Look, he's opened the door just to get rid of some of the smoke inside the car, and he's got to limp back a long way. He's not even at forced elbow yet. that tire is likely to be on the rim by the time it gets even onto Conrad. Just wearing itself away there on that front mudguard. But severe damage to the left front. Ooh, you can't even steer it. Very hard for him to get it to turn right because it's already turning left.
Really tough luck for Tim Harvey. He was going so well. The Peugeot was going so well. And here in the pitch you can see the second Audi of Jean-François Ormeroux, my apologies. And door slams, driver change.
So McConville back into the second Audi.
Fourth position he was in when he came in. Jason Plato is back in the lead as a result of a flurry of pit stops that we've had. David Brabham is in second position, very close to the Renault. And in third position is the second BMW. And incidentally, apologies to Craig Baird. We were hypothesizing that he hadn't been ready, but in fact the problem for the car was as a result of fuel. He had to wait. Paul Morris had to wait until the fuel ran down after he'd had a puncture. He came in early, had to change the tyre, and oh my goodness, just look, he's broken the suspension as well. Yes. The wheel is not only going round and round, it's going backwards and forwards.
I'm not sure that he's actually hit anything, has he?
Well, that might have been the case when I think he has hit something, but it might have been that the lower...
Good point, Richard. It looks as though he's just broken the suspension because the bodywork of the car and the splitter at the front looks absolutely unmarked as Tim Harvey limps in. But there's a bit of a dint right at the top of the mudguard if you look, and it's shipped loose.
Well, but bouncing down off the top of this mountain all day long certainly does put a strain on the suspension of these cars.
Not too worried about that. He's already got a puncture, but he's done well. He's down coming through the chase now.
I think that mudguard's cut shipped loose because of the tyre pushing against it.
Well, there's a bit of good news for them as well, because the pace car is still out, so the amount of time that they're losing is nothing like as great as it would have been.
Yeah, we're on lap 71 now in this 161 lap race, with actually a real battle at the front as we watch the Peugeot limping in, a battle between Jason Plato in the Renault and David Brabham in the lead BMW, who's chased by his teammate Craig Baird. Cameron McConville in the Audi is in fourth position, ahead of his teammate Brad Jones. So the Audis are moving up through the field.
Limping back into the pit lane. Will he make it all the way? That's the question. He's coming to a halt. No.
Under our studio.
Very sporting. He let another fellow in there. He knew he would have actually held him up badly in the pit lane. That was rather very, very sporting. And here we have the Peugeot coming up into its stop. People screaming already. No, there's Neil Crompton getting worried.
Yep, teammate Neil Crompton from the 26 car. This is the number 6 car of Tim Harvey and Paul Radisich, which has been so well placed. Led the race briefly. Second place when this incident took place. Pat Welsh is on the scene. We go to him right now.
Gary, they're not quite sure. They haven't had communications, and it's Tim in there. They just completed a pit stop to go out under the pace car as well. Paul's down chatting to Tim now. He's shaking his head. Obviously, there's something some damage done to the front left suspension, and that's where they're going to be working on now. Just a matter of how long it takes and how serious it is. Only time will tell. But the bitter disappointment under pace car for the Peugeots, which are running so well. But just confirming that Tim Harvey is in the car, and he just made a change with Paul Radisich. So it happened probably 20 seconds after they'd gone back onto the track.
So you can see the work still going on there, and the Peugeot has in fact just gone down a lap because the pace car and the train of cars behind it has gone by. And car comes down off the jacks there. Tim Harvey still at the wheel.
Heartbreaking stuff to go from first, second place in the race to, well, virtually nowhere in the space of moments. We'll be back with more action from the great race very shortly. In the great race behind the pace car, 71 laps completed, and we've had all manner of incidents. The pace car originally went out on this occasion because car 89 had come to a standstill on the approach to the cutting and was then rolling backwards down Mountain Straight. Whilst that was happening, several cars took advantage of the opportunity to come into pit. Car 34 was one, Stephen Richards. That car has in fact made 2 pit stops whilst the pace car has been out on this occasion. They do have a problem. Stephen Richards is out of the car. The Peugeot number 6 car with Paul Radisich at the wheel also came in whilst the pace car is out and did a driver change. Tim Harvey went back out and the front left suspension of the car has collapsed. Tim Harvey, a very disappointed man, is with Pat Welsh.
Well, disappointed is not the word, Gary. Tim, dejected. You'd just gone out under pace car.
I'm absolutely devastated, you know, for myself, for Paul, for the whole Peugeot team. We've had an absolutely fantastic week so far. The luck was running with us brilliantly in the race. We adopted a different strategy, started the car on a light fuel load, managed to stop under the pace car and effectively put ourselves 7 laps in front of everyone else on the fuel. Wow. Paul was 1 lap away from his scheduled pit stop, and the pace car came out, so we gained all our track position back and a full pit stop. First lap I did out the pits, the lower track control arm broke and took the drive shaft and the gearbox casing and everything else with it. It was some major problems, so I'm just so disappointed at after having such a good time here with Peugeot and all the Aussies and here at Bathurst. Can only come back again.
We'd love to have you back. Thanks for talking to us.
Thank you very much.
Alan, I wonder if this is the first sign of a car that was essentially built for sprint racing not being able to make it in a long endurance race. Is it going to happen to others?
We've had cars here, Murray, that we've spent 365 days preparing, and we still haven't managed to have it absolutely bulletproof. This mountain exerts a terrible pressure on anyone that tries to conquer it.
Yes, and as poor Tim Harvey, who was plainly very distressed, said, they'd done an absolutely superb job right up to this race with the Peugeot team, only to have it snatched away from them like that.
Well, we're on lap 72 of the great race. The pace car is still out. Let's just update you again if you've blinked and missed some of what's happened in the past hour. Here's Sandy Roberts.
Yes, thank you, Gary Wilkinson. The mountain really starting to take its toll here at Bathurst. So we check now on the last hour's highlights, and there has been plenty of action too. With, of course, Alan Jones slamming into the cutting, causing the pace car to come out again. And it was then up to Alan Manu, who had the lead in the Renault. The Vectras had their problems too, after the Cleland car was pushed into the garage. And also Warwick came into the pits. Car 89, have they had their problems today or not? The Mondeo stopped, and again out came the pace car. Paul Radisich too. The Peugeot having tyre problems, specifically the left wheel. They left the tyre just outside our commentary box. So the drama continues, and as the great race continues here at Bathurst, so does the Channel 7 and Triple M Dash for Cash. Our next winner, $5,000, it goes to John Crook from Rolling Stone in Western Australia, who called with the correct answer. Photographers and people in general were in Peter Brock's way. Now another $5,000 is up for grabs. If you know the answer to this hour's question, which driver was leading the race at 12:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time? Could there have been a driver change around that time? Or maybe not. Think about it, then call us on 190-255-0666 to enter the draw and stay watching the AMP Bathurst 1000 for more chances to win with a Channel 7 and Triple M Dash for Cash as we go back to Gary.
And back to the race. The pace car is off. Car number 3 is in the lead. The Williams Renault, Jason Plato at the wheel. Highballing now from David Brabham in the number 2 BMW, followed by Craig Baird, or the 83 BMW, and then the number 2 BMW with Craig Baird.
Well, Jason Plato will be wondering, Murray, what he has to do to get on top of these cars behind him. They've stretched out to upwards of 25-second lead on 2 occasions. Yeah. It's been hauled back to nothing, and here he has to go and start all over again.
Yes, it's tough, but they've done it. They've done it twice, so I guess they can do it again. And the question continues to be, not is the Renault fast enough? My goodness, it's certainly fast enough, but is it going to be long enough?
Yeah, strong enough.
In terms of staying on the track, and it's not showing any sign whatsoever of not being long enough and strong enough. I talked to the team boss about the Renault before the race began, and they haven't made any major changes to the car for an endurance race. They pointed out that they run the engine for probably 1,200 Ks before they change it anyway, so they're not worried about reliability there. And they reckon all the other components, the suspension and particularly the wheel bearings and the brakes, are going to be up to the job. And look at the way that it's flying. Oh, that's the Alfa Romeo out there, the sole Alfa Romeo in the race, the Auger Lorry Kite car.
Yes, he's still in one piece. He had a bit of an oops in the dipper. He saved himself. Well, he thank his lucky stars not too many people get away with that.
I'm just thinking, Alan, that we're now 73 laps. It's 161 laps, and it really is. It's not just a gigantically tough track on the cars. We've seen that, but the men behind the wheel. How did you keep so fit? How did you build your stamina?
I had a woman that chased me around the block every night, Murray. I found...
Ask a silly question.
I honestly found that working 7 days a week, or at least 6.5 days a week, on something that you really loved and that you had a specific target, the strength came to you just automatically.
Look at Jason Plato there. His eyes big. He's a lovely chap, actually, a really good-humoured, friendly, easy-going chap. But when he gets in the motor car, of course, the concentration is switched on. The eyes get bigger. He looks alarmed, worried, horrified, but he isn't really. He's just concentrating every inch of the way on what he's doing. Yeah. That alloy lever sticking up is the gear lever. We've said before it's a sequential change. I'm glad we're inside the car because it gives us a good opportunity to see the way it works. Back for up.
Yeah, up through the gears, backwards, and to down change he will go forward. There he is. He's just pulled her up probably one of the higher gears. One of the things that's flopping around in the back that people would be interesting to see, why is that so floppy? That's his air line to his helmet, and he's getting fresh air blown into the back of his helmet, and they need to keep that just sort of dangling there so that when he does move his head, it doesn't restrict him in any way.
You can also see the bungee straps that come down and connect to his seat belt, so that when he brings the car into the pits, let's go, the seat belts, they pull back so that Menu can then get in the car and find them in exactly the right place.
Car 34, the Nissan Primera, still in the pits, unfortunately. Bad luck for Stephen Richards. He's with David Tapp.
Bad luck indeed, Gary Wilkinson. A chronic braking problem by the look of it.
Yeah, the Nissan Primera has been running fantastic all day. We did a pad change then, went out, the pedal got a little bit long, coming down the straight, the brake rotor exploded.
Does the twin calipers make it more difficult to work on?
It makes it a little bit more difficult to change the pads, speed, time-wise. But yeah, I just can't understand it. You know, it's just one of those things that just shouldn't happen.
Hope you can get it fixed and get back out there.
No, we'll be back. We'll be back.
That's a fearful thing to have happen. The disc, for people that don't understand the terminology, the brake disc exploding, virtually leaving the wheel exposed. That would have given him a hell of a fright. Secondly, the brake pedal goes to the floor instantly because there's nothing there to keep the brake pads from squashing against something.
The Brabham's 83, the BMW just turning on the long haul up Mountain Straight. Hope you're enjoying our coverage, not only on the 7 network around Australia, but through the BBC and Eurosport, TVNZ, Sky TV, Australia Television to Asia and the Pacific through CCT TV in China. I'm going to say hi to my brother Glenn, who is lives in China, and I bet is watching the telecast today. Speed Vision to North America, Canada and the United States. Potential 2 billion viewers around the world today watching the great race.
Which is on lap 76. Out of 161, and car 83, the BMW that we are looking at now, is the one that's driven by the two Brabham brothers, one at a time, of course. It's David at the wheel at the present moment on the left-hand side of the car, and he is just about 3 seconds behind Jason Plato in the Renault Laguna, which has dominated this race in the hands of Jason and his teammate Alain Menu, the two men who respectively finished 3rd and 1st, Alain Menu in the British Touring Car Championship.
This car normally driven throughout the year by Jeffrey Brabham, and Jeff was absolutely delighted that BMW management elected to have his brother come out from Europe and help him co-drive here today. Terrific family get-together, and wonderful for them.
So we've seen the Alfa Romeo in trouble earlier on, and this is what happened to it. Watch the red car as it's parked. Well, he must have been touched by the that presumably is the problem. Yeah, that's the Patrick Watts Neil Crompton car, not the Tim Harvey car, which nudged David Auger's Alfa Romeo 155. And we've just seen poor old Tim Harvey go out of the race with that problem at the front of the Peugeot. I wonder if the other one's okay after...
Let's go back into the lead car, 3, the Renault Laguna, Jason Plato at the wheel, and just find out how he's coping with Mount Panorama. Jason, can you hear us? Not at this moment, obviously.
There's an enormous amount of electronic gadgetry on this car, mate, and I think really it's just overpowering our signal today, Gary.
Jason Plato, it's Murray Walker. Can you hear me?
No, we've lost communication, Murray, there.
Answer came there, none. He very clearly can't. But it never ceases to surprise me, Alan, that even though electronically you can get through to a driver's helmet, they can find the time when they concentrate the way they do to talk to you.
I must admit, Mary, I wasn't very keen on it myself. I didn't mind the pictures on board, but I didn't ever volunteer to be a speaker on board, and I think it is a big strain on the drivers.
Yeah, we're in Brad Jones's Audi at the present moment, and this is the reigning Australian Super Touring champion in the Audi Quattro. So that's his teammate ahead of him, Cameron McConville, in the other Audi Quattro, and they are respectively in 5th position, Brad Jones, 4th position, McConville. So the German cars are going exceptionally well. They're 2nd, 3rd, 4th and 5th. BMW 2nd and 3rd, Brabham and Baird. Audi's 4th and 5th, McConville and Brad Jones. This is exactly what Brad Jones forecast would happen. You can see they're bearing down on the Volvo now. That's the Jim Richards Volvo, the car number 4, which he's sharing with Rickard Rydell, which came in for a very, very long pit stop earlier on, and it's pretty well down the field. Well, Rydell's driving at the present moment. He's a lap down. He's in 7th position, and the cars behind him are 4th and 5th and about to take him, or are they? And you can see behind them is the Vectra, the sole remaining Vauxhall Vectra of Derek Warwick and Peter Brock, as John Cleland retired some time ago. So Volvo, Audi, Vectra as they go into the chase, and the Volvo gives way. There's the Peter Brock car, 05.
Well, this Oryx Audi team is a real credit to Brad Jones. He struggled in the early years of his career to get some decent drives, and the ones he did get, not too friendly management. And he just made this pitch to Audi and to Oryx. Look, I can put a team together for you in the embryo stages of the Super Touring Championship here in Australia, and I've got nothing but admiration for the way these Audis have been prepared and the manner in which they've been presented each race.
Just 6 cars on the same lap now, and that is lap 78 as we look at Jason Plato in the Renault Laguna leading David Brabham's BMW by 6 seconds.
And as we see the Renault in action, let's go to Pat Welsh, because he's got team manager Didier Debay with him.
Didier, a very happy man. It's going very well at the moment for this car, isn't it?
It's still early days, so better not say anything.
You're not counting the chickens just yet. Tell us about what goes on behind the scenes here. You have so many people working to get the vehicle to this point.
Well, we've got 23 people here, including Alain's wife, the 2 drivers, obviously, and we've got 5 volunteers from Australia as well, which were people that Graham Moore knew.
So you've lost the second car. Does that place any extra pressure on the team?
Well, obviously it's always nice to have a second car in the race, but such is life, and the car is going well. I don't foresee any problem. Touch wood, will go well.
You seem very relaxed. I hope you stay that way all day.
I hope so too.
Thanks, Didier.
Bye-bye.
And the safety car is going out again. Some trouble around. Oh, there it is.
This never-ending
It's
reversing.
our old friend. It's Jenny Thompson's Ford Mondeo, but at least it's parked in a safe place.
Yes, I think that's a resting point at last. It's the only car we've seen do so many miles backwards at Bathurst.
Well, we're getting towards half distance now. Half distance is 80.5 laps, to be pedantic about it, in this 161 lap race. And there is Jason Plato. He's coming through to complete his 78th lap in a secure lead, and he's closing up on to lap Kite's Alfa Romeo, which is in 90. He looks as though he's going a bit slowly to me.
He won't be able to lap him at the moment, of course, because the yellow flags will go out all the way around the circuit because of the safety car situation.
Yeah, now let's see how the safety car situation works now as the recovery truck goes out to recover Jenny's car.
And in has come the Morris Baird BMW.
Bonnet open, doesn't look good.
From third position, much earlier than it should have done. Remember, we saw smoke coming out of the back of it when he made his exit from the pit lane after that very, very long stint that Paul Morris had.
This could, of course, it could be tactical in that they're trying to get the car in and out of the pits before the pace cars come back round, so it joins on the back of the trail. And then if Plato has to come in, he'll then have to join in behind this car.
Yes, this could be a very smart tactical move.
Good point.
The bonnet's up a bit longer than we'd like to see it for a tactical stop. That's just the man on the air vent there. There's no problem at the back. But they are doing something at the front. They're pouring something in, pumping something into one of the reservoirs. Obviously, low light went down.
It's only 11 laps since this car was in.
And you can see the oil is splattered around there on the inside of the firewall of the wheel well. Baird has decided he better get in. He's used the pace car to do it, but this is not the type of thing that you want. These engines are so absolutely mandatory that they maintain the right oil level.
And rightly so. We saw what happened to Alan Jones earlier on as a result of somebody's engine not holding the oil properly. But
this is a little bit more than a casual strategic stop.
You don't expect this from BMW. They're normally so reliable. But then, as you've pointed out, Alan, this is a track and a race that takes tremendous toll on the cars, puts an enormous stress on them. Safety car out. Plato in the place where he should be, which is right behind the safety car, but right behind Jason Plato now, from a gap that was 7 seconds. Again. So this is the third time that the Renault Laguna has lost. Jason Plato, can you hear me? It's Murray Walker.
Yeah, I can hear you loud and clear, Murray.
Well, Jason, for the third time you've lost a substantial lead because of the safety car. But apart from that, are you happy with the way things are going?
Yeah, everything's good at the minute. The car's running well. I'm just trying to concentrate on doing nice, tidy laps and taking care of it. So we've still got a bit in hand. So even though we keep getting our lead eaten away, I'm not unduly concerned at the moment.
It's your first long-distance endurance race like this. How are you enjoying the experience?
Oh, it's great. I mean, it's a fantastic circuit. It's just excellent fun.
Well, good luck with the rest of it, Jason. I see you tightening your safety belts there. Yeah, Jason edges down the safety. It's amazing how they work loose.
They do work loose, and but that level of concentration, Murray, was being very polite to you. But boy, look at those eyeballs. He's thinking twice while you were talking to him. He looked in the rearview mirror just to double check his position in the Congo line. Real professional at work.
Pace car still out, so we've got at least one more lap under the pace car.
Into the pits has come the Alpha, and I should tell you that the Craig Baird Paul Morris BMW has rejoined the race and will join on the back of this Crocodile.
So there's the safety car. Behind it, the Laguna. Behind it is Brabham's BMW. And now you see Audi have worked their way up into third and fourth places, with McConville in third position in the Audi. His teammate Brad Jones, the reigning Australian champion, is up there in fourth position, followed by Patrick Watts and Craig Baird in respectively the Peugeot 406 and the BMW. Seventh is Rickard Rydell, but Baird is a lap down.
Morris and Baird, they are the race leaders.
Rickard Rydell is second, and in third position now is the
seventh position,
my apologies, the Warwick Brock car, followed by Nelson and McLean.
Golf Cup half distance in the great race, the AMP Bathurst 1000 for 1997. Don't forget the Channel 7 Triple M Dash for Cash. This is taking place right now, and it's one of the Audi cars. They've both been in under the pace car at the present time. Brad Jones came in for a quick stop earlier. They just put fuel in the car. There was no driver change. This is car 11. Cameron McConville was at the wheel. And I don't think they made a change there either. It's hard to tell.
A little trouble starting it, but off and away. I think that might have been just a tactical stop.
And so this can be quite good strategy. There's three cars now, I think. Brad Jones, sister car here with Cameron McConville and the Paul Morris BMW that have all stopped around this point.
I was going to remind you about the Channel 7 Triple M Dash for Cash. The last question, which driver was leading the race at 12:30 Eastern Australian time, approximately. Ring 1902 550 666. You could win $5 grand, but don't forget, there was a lot of pit action going on around that time, and there were a lot of driver changes, so be careful. Think carefully.
Watch carefully.
Halfway distance, Alan Moffat. This is a tricky time of the day.
Yes, it's almost as if all the voodoo that is hiding in this mountain comes out right about now. If we can get by closer to 90 than 80, but certainly past the halfway mark is a big trick, and the fellows that are running well, as the lead cars are, the first two lead cars in any event, and I would say also the two Audi drivers must be extremely happy with their position in the top 10 lineup. I've always been very nervous about getting past this halfway mark.
Now we understand the pace car will pull off at the end of this lap. Brad Jones in the number 1 Oryx Audi. We saw you come in for a slick stop behind the pace car then. Nope, can't hear me, Bradley. Having a lot of difficulty with communication on the top of the mountain for some reason today. It's hard to understand because it is a beautifully clear day. It was Brad Jones' microphone that was causing us a problem. Stop chewing on it, Brad. No, he's doing it again. I've got to apologise to the weatherman too. I really thought that the initial forecast was right earlier in the week that we would get a change through here mid-afternoon that was going to bring a thunderstorm, and a couple of my local informants assured me that would be the case. But the weatherman did say fine and dry for most of the day, possible shower late. How much later, we don't know, but at the moment it certainly doesn't look like it. The early overcast has pretty much burnt off. There's still a bit of cloud around, but very large patches of blue sky as well. It has warmed up very considerably, and this, Alan, is tough on the drivers too, because 18 degrees at the start of the race, 28 degrees now. I mean, if you've got yourself well set up, and a lot of the guys have, like the Williams-Renault team with air flowing into the helmet, but if you haven't got those niceties, it gets stuffy and hot.
Absolutely. You heard Peter Brock saying, "Where's my drink bottle?" It's something that really is an absolute mandatory check-off list, to have plenty of fluids in the car for the driver to suck away on. Paul Morris mentioned that he drank all the way through. That kept him right on the ball. Yeah,
well, lapse of concentration is the problem if you don't keep up the fluid intake, and you do get overcome by the heat. And so, green flag, racing again in the great race at 80 laps down. So we've clicked over the halfway mark. And car number 3, Jason Plato, the Williams-Renault Laguna, holding pride of place over the Brabham brothers. David Brabham at the wheel of car 83 at the present time. Then Patrick Watts in car 26, the Peugeot, followed by Craig Baird in car 2, the BMW. Then the Audi pair of Brad Jones and Cameron McConville.
81 laps completed, and those top 6 cars all still on the same lead lap. Paul Nelson, Justin Matthews, Bob Holden car coming into the pits.
Yes, Bob Holden, of course, won this race in 1966.
Thank you, Wilco.
Bit of bad timing here. Pity they couldn't have come in a lap earlier just to get a little compensation while the pace car was out there. So now they're losing time at the rate of the lead car, which happens to be Jason Plato.
Alan, my first experience with the great race, and a great experience it is, but how usual or unusual is it at half distance to have 6 cars on the same lap.
Oh, no, that's quite reasonable, Murray. Yeah, no, that's okay. It's more than okay for the people that are involved. But it shows the level of competition between the lead Super Tours in the world today.
Yes, of course, much closer than we might have expected with the pace car, safety car, having been out 3 times already.
This car you can see in the pits, car 16, the BMW 320 of Paul Nelson, Bob Holden, Justin Matthews. They actually gave the wall a nudge early in the week that the car didn't run for the first couple of days of practice and early qualifying. And they've done pretty well just to get it out there and to be still out there competing in the great race at the present time.
Yeah, the same 6 cars on the same lap, 6 top front cars on the same, and look how close it is at the front as a result of the safety car going out. Because as Jason Plato comes down to complete his 82nd lap, just behind him, about 6 car lengths, is the second car of David Brabham. So it's Renault Laguna versus BMW. Versus in 3rd position, the Peugeot 406 of Patrick Watts, then the BMW. So there's 2 BMWs in the top 4 and 2 Audis in the top 6, with Craig Baird followed by Brad Jones in the Audi and Cameron McConville in the Alvin. Here they come towards us, and amongst them the Vauxhall Vectra.
We've seen this on 3 occasions now, Murray, where after the pace car goes in, that the lead car has to sprint away, and I think in both occasions Alain Menu and Jason Plato have done a superb job of re-establishing themselves as race leaders. The BMW, in this case of David Brabham, hasn't been able to stay right with him.
The prime Volvo entry heading up Mountain Straight once more. Jim Richards and Ricard Rydell. David, tap some information about this car.
Yes, Gary, they do have a problem at the moment with communication between team and driver. Jim Richards, currently at the wheel, cannot hear his team when they're giving instructions or trying to communicate. And when he went by the pits last time round, they held out a big sign saying, "We can hear you." So they can hear him, but he can't hear them.
Now, there's a lot of people who would like to be in that situation sometimes, aren't they?
Yeah, generally on a Monday morning with your bank manager, Murray.
It's something that you don't think about a lot, Alan, but David Tapp just mentioned it. The complete absence, almost complete absence of pit boards these days. I mean, they're just a thing of the past.
Yes, but it's something that we always cherished. I loved watching that. It was just my link with reality. Every time I came around after a hair-raising lap, there I am, something to look to and have a link with reality.
Well, here's one of the great Bathurst 1000 drivers of all time, Jim Richards. He's 50 years old now, and he's won this great race 5 times. In the Volvo, he has done extremely well in this car because he won the 3 races at the Melbourne Australian Grand Prix meeting at the beginning of the year. And as I've said before, it's the less modern version of the Volvo, the big 850. It's a strong, chunky motor car. You can see the trim missing at the back. Well, you can't see it because it's not there. But you can see where the trim was. That's it. Thank you very much.
Yes. Instant aerodynamics,
yes.
Sorry.
And he bears down on car 21, which is the Mike Fitzgerald, Jamie Miller Peugeot 405, and passes it effortlessly.
That's the car that got the nudge from Alain Menu in the Williams Renault on Friday afternoon that cost Alain $5,000.
Absolutely, and it's so easy to lose touch with things as Richards goes through, and we look down from the helicopter onto the start and finish straight as he turns into the left-hander at Hell Corner and starts the climb up Mountain Straight towards Repco Bend, which is a 3rd gear bend, which they take at about 125 k's, past the winery, which Alan didn't know about, and keeps going now. You can see there's Repco in the top left corner of your screen, and then it goes up towards the BP cutting, and it was coming out of the BP cutting where Alan Jones hit the oil slick in the Renault Laguna earlier on in the race, went into the wall and out of the race. As we look back now from one Audi to another, because we're looking now at Brad Jones's car from Cameron McColvin's car.
Or even at Cameron McConville's car from Brad Jones's, and they are only just behind Craig Baird in the number 2 BMW.
battling for 4th, 5th and 6th positions. There's the proof, and thank you very much, Richard. You're quite right. Brad Jones ahead with the yellow mirrors, Cameron McConville behind him. 2 Australian drivers have done extremely well in the Australian Super Touring Championship, and they're right with Craig Baird, the New Zealander, who got into the BMW after that very, very long stint that Paul Jones had on account of having a puncture round about lap 20 and then having to stay out until the fuel ran down because they didn't want to bring him in just to top the fuel up and make an unnecessary fuel stop. This race is, in the end, I think, going to revolve around strategy. Now, this is the fastest part of the course, the famous Conrod Straight.
Just fading to the right now, coming down under brakes for the first bit of the chicane. Now to the right. Ooh, bit of dust up there that Brad threw up at the second Audi. And they come down into your corner, Murray, for a right-hander.
Murray's corner. And now at the start and finish straight.
Just riding the curbs gently there, no harm done at all. At that rate of attack angle, no problem at all. It's only when you hit them at a 90-degree angle that you need to worry about breaking things.
And here we are. This is the Warwick Brock car. The Vauxhall Vectra, it's in 9th position. And there are the 2 drivers. There were the 2 drivers as the BMW goes through. And then the Vauxhall Vectra. Well, it's good to see it running. It's had its problems. John Cleland, of course, has very much had his problems out of the race after only 31 laps, and he spent an enormous amount of time in the pits with a broken steering pump.
Peter Brock, winner here 9 times. How well documented has that been? First time in 1972. Of course, in a brief period there through the late 70s, early 80s, he won the race 6 times in the space of 7 years. He won it 3 times with Jim Richards, 3 times with Larry Perkins. Last one at 87. This is his last appearance in the Bathurst 1000. Last chance to chalk up a 10th win in the great race. That doesn't look like happening. Derek Warwick, his co-driver, is in the pits at the moment watching Brocky go round, and Derek is with David Tapp.
Gary, thank you very much. Derek Warwick, you spoke to me a short time ago and indicated that this morning's incident involving all of the photographers and press people around the car, which didn't enable Brocky to make a proper pit stop, has cost you a certain podium finish. You're not happy?
Well, obviously not. You know, we do a lot of practice here to make sure that our pit stops run smoothly. The guys have worked hard to achieve that. And really to lose 2 or 3 minutes in the pit road because of problems with media and television, you know, it hurts a little bit. You know, the car's running fine, the Vectra's really running good at the moment, and you know, Brocky did a good job to bring it in 3rd place, and with the time lost, there she goes now.
Derek, to be philosophical though, there is still a long way to go, so it may not have cost you a podium finish just yet.
No, right. Yeah, at the moment it's a good race. There's a lot of cars still running. It's an exciting race. The crowd is still here and held on to the race. And there's a long way to go. Our car's running well, and we're going to try and go for a rostrum place.
You've done everything possible in motor racing worldwide. How does your experience at Mount Panorama come up to your standards? Does it exceed your expectations?
Well, I've been lucky in my life. I've raced in some great race circuits. Monaco, Le Mans, Las Vegas, all the top Grand Prix circuits. I have never in my life raced in such a demanding, physical, technical circuit as Mount Panorama. It's a great circuit. It's got everything that a driver wants and wishes to have in a race car. Every time I get into the car, I have a smile on my face, and I'm looking forward to my stint now.
Thanks for your time.
Okay, thank you.
Derek Warwick being incredibly restrained about the problem that lost them the time there.
Because foreign office material, Murray.
Yeah, yes.
So Jason Plato continues to lead the great race. 85 laps gone from the Brabham BMW. Patrick Watts runs in 3rd. 4th place, Paul Morris and Craig Baird. And in 5th place, the Jones-Beeler Audi Quattro. Similar car in 6th, the McConville and Home Rule. In 7th, Richards Rydell with the Volvo. 8th, Warwick and Brock. 9th, Nilsson and McLean. And 10th, Richards and...
For the Peugeots here.